Imagine finding out the automaker behind your car is collapsing and neither the brand nor your dealer ever told you a thing. Sales are drying up, dealerships are closing, owners are getting stranded with cars that plummet in value overnight. Today we're counting down 8 car brands that won't survive past 2027. And here's the shocking part. Number 1 on this list sold over 300,000 vehicles last year, while their parent company lost $26 billion. Let's start with a brand that insiders say has 12 months left to survive. Nissan. If you drive a Nissan, you need to hear this. If you're considering buying one, you really need to hear this. For decades, Nissan represented everything great about Japanese engineering. Affordable reliability, bulletproof drivetrains, cars that just worked without drama for 200,000 miles. The GTR became a legend that embarrassed supercars costing twice as much. The Maxima defined the four-door sports car segment. The Frontier and Armada built reputations for toughness that lasted generations. Nissan wasn't flashy. Nissan was dependable, and for millions of families, that was enough. Today, Nissan is fighting for survival, and based on what insiders are saying, they're losing badly. In November 2024, a senior Nissan executive told the Financial Times something that should terrify every single Nissan owner in America. The company has 12 to 14 months left to survive without finding a major investor or merger partner. 12 months. That's not analyst speculation. That's not internet doom posting. That's an internal admission from someone who has seen the actual financial books. The numbers backing up that warning are catastrophic. Profits for the 6 months ending September 2024 plunged 94% compared to the same period in 2023. I need you to understand what that means. 94%. They went from healthy profits to barely surviving in a single year. The company actually lost money on vehicle sales and only showed a narrow overall profit because of their financing business, which basically means they made money on car loans, not cars. In response to the bleeding, Nissan announced they're cutting manufacturing output by 20% and laying off 9,000 workers globally. That's not trimming fat, that's emergency surgery. But here's where it gets worse. Honda and Nissan announced merger talks in December 2024. It was supposed to create the world's third largest automaker, a $58 billion combination that would save both companies from being crushed by Tesla and Chinese competitors. By February 2025, those talks completely collapsed. Honda demanded that Nissan become a subsidiary. Nissan's CEO refused. The merger that was supposed to save Nissan fell apart over ego. Now Nissan is desperately searching for anyone willing to invest. Foxconn has made approaches. Banks have been contacted. Nothing has been signed. The company that once rivaled Toyota is now begging for a lifeline while the clock ticks down. Analysts speculate Nissan could face bankruptcy as soon as 2026 when massive debt obligations come due. The company that gave us the Z car and revolutionized the electric vehicle market with the Leaf might not exist in 2 years. And here's what that means for you. If Nissan goes under, every Altima, Rogue, Sentra, and Pathfinder on the road becomes an orphan. Warranties become worthless promises. Parts become scarce. Software updates stop. Resale values collapse overnight. If this is what's happening to a company that sold 865,000 vehicles in America last year, wait until you hear what's happening to the next brand, because this one is even more personal for American families. Chrysler. There was a time when Chrysler meant something in America. They invented the minivan. They gave us the first production Hemi V8. For decades, Chrysler was the heartbeat of American automotive innovation. The badge represented family, comfort, and practical vehicles that didn't break the wallet. Today, Chrysler sells exactly one type of vehicle: minivans. That's it. In 2005, Chrysler sold over 640,000 vehicles in the United States. By 2024, that number collapsed to under 125,000 units, an 80% decline, and 2025 is tracking even lower. The entire brand consists of the Pacifica minivan and the Voyager, which is essentially just a stripped-down Pacifica sold to rental car companies. The Chrysler 300, the last vehicle that actually represented what the brand stood for, was killed in 2023. The Airflow EV that was supposed to save the brand? Canceled mid-development because it was already outdated before production even started. But here's the part that should genuinely concern you. Carlos Tavares, the former CEO of Stellantis, Chrysler's parent company, publicly warned last year that several brands in the portfolio could disappear by 2026. He didn't name names. He didn't have to. Everyone in the industry knows Chrysler is on that list. Stellantis just reported a net loss of $26.3 billion for 2025, the first annual loss in company history. They're writing off billions in EV investments, they've suspended dividends, and they're actively reviewing which of their 14 brands deserve to survive. Chrysler will celebrate its 100th birthday in 2025. It might also be celebrating its funeral. If you think losing an American icon is painful, the next brand on this list proves that even European luxury isn't safe anymore. Maserati. For over a century, Maserati represented Italian passion, racing heritage, and automotive artistry. The Trident logo commanded respect on streets from Monaco to Manhattan. Owning a Maserati meant you'd arrived. You'd made it. You were driving something special. Today, Maserati is bleeding out. Sales have collapsed so severely that the brand has become statistically irrelevant in most markets. During Stellantis' recent earnings call, CEO Antonio Filosa was asked directly whether Maserati would remain part of the company. His response was telling. He dodged the question entirely. A Maserati spokesperson later insisted the brand wasn't for sale, but that's exactly what companies say right before they sell. Maserati was forced to make a dramatic pivot to all-electric vehicles under Stellantis leadership. The Gran Turismo Folgore and Grecale Folgore were supposed to reinvent the brand for a new generation. Instead, they launched into a market that was already rejecting EVs at scale. Stellantis has now reversed course entirely, admitting they overestimated the pace of the energy transition. The factories in Italy have been running at reduced capacity. Layoffs have hit the workforce. And the brand that once competed with Ferrari and Porsche is now fighting just to exist. When Stellantis decides which brands get cut, Maserati is near the top of that list. European brands with small sales volumes and expensive manufacturing footprints are exactly what the new cost-cutting regime will target first. But Maserati at least has a century of heritage to fall back on. The next brand destroyed itself almost overnight. Jaguar. Jaguar didn't fade away. Jaguar committed brand suicide. For generations, owning a Jaguar meant something. The leaping cat on the hood was the gentleman's badge. British elegance, roaring engines, timeless design. The XJ was the car of executives and royalty. The F-Type was a modern classic. Jaguar had soul. Then someone decided to burn it all in. In late 2024, Jaguar unveiled a complete rebrand that became an immediate laughingstock. The iconic leaping cat logo was replaced with something critics called generic corporate slop. The launch ad featured no cars at all, just people in bizarre outfits that had nothing to do with automotive heritage. The internet exploded with mockery. The CEO who oversaw this disaster stepped down within months. But the rebrand was just the symptom. The disease was far worse. Jaguar has pulled the plug on almost every model in their lineup. The XE sedan is gone. The XF is gone. The F-Type sports car is dead. The I-Pace electric SUV has been discontinued. The E-Pace crossover is finished. The only model still in production is the F-Pace SUV, and even that has an expiration date. The company is betting everything on an all-electric future, but those EVs won't arrive until 2026. Until then, Jaguar dealerships have essentially nothing to sell. It's a product vacuum that's driving customers to competitors and leaving dealers to close their doors. RepairPal gives Jaguar a 2.5 out of 5 reliability rating, putting them 29th out of 32 car brands. Resale values are already in freefall, and the brand that was supposed to challenge BMW and Mercedes is now hoping it can survive long enough for its electric savior to arrive. If you're holding a Jaguar lease or considering a purchase, understand what you're buying into. A brand with no current product, no clear identity, and no guarantee of existing when your warranty expires. The next brand on this list actually filed paperwork admitting they might not survive. And I wish I was exaggerating. Polestar. In September 2025, Polestar did something that no car company ever wants to do. They issued an official going concern warning. That's legal language for "we might not exist next year." Let that sink in. The company that was supposed to be Volvo's electric future publicly admitted they might not survive. Polestar went public through a SPAC merger in 2022 with shares around $13. Today, those shares trade for roughly 22 cents. That's a 96% collapse in value. If you invested $10,000 at the peak, you'd have about $400 left. They had to execute a 1-for-30 reverse stock split just to avoid being automatically delisted from NASDAQ. The financial bleeding is staggering. Polestar has accumulated approximately $8 billion in cumulative losses. They posted a $1.03 billion loss in Q2 2025 alone. Then they took a $739 million impairment charge on the Polestar 3 because tariffs and weak demand destroyed their projections. The cuts came fast and brutal. Polestar laid off 15% of their workforce. They shut down their UK research and development facilities entirely, with 130 engineers losing their jobs in a single announcement. Then the worst blow landed. Volvo walked away. Polestar was supposed to be Volvo's premium electric performance brand. That partnership was their safety net. When Volvo withdrew financial backing, Polestar was left entirely dependent on emergency funding from Geely, their Chinese parent company. In late 2025, they secured $300 million in new financing and converted another $300 million of debt into equity. That's life support, not investment. If you're driving a Polestar right now, understand what that going concern warning means. The company's own leadership told regulators they might not be able to continue operations. Your warranty, your software updates, your service network, all of it depends on a company that's surviving month to month. But Polestar isn't the only brand getting pulled down by a sinking parent. The next one is collapsing alongside a company you've already heard about today. Infiniti. Infiniti was supposed to be Japan's answer to Lexus, Nissan's premium division, the brand that proved you could have BMW-like driving dynamics with Japanese reliability. The G35 became a cult classic. The FX series defined luxury sport utility. The QX80 stood toe-to-toe with the Escalade. Today, Infiniti is a brand running out of time. In 2017, Infiniti sold 153,000 vehicles in the United States. By 2024, that number crashed to just 58,000 units, a 62% collapse. Sales continue falling year after year with no recovery in sight. The response from management has been retreat. Infiniti shuttered standalone showrooms across the country, consolidating into Nissan dealerships as part of a cost-cutting measure. Models are disappearing from the lineup. The QX50 and QX55 ended production in 2025. The Q50 sedan is already gone. What remains is a skeletal lineup of two SUVs, the QX60 and QX80. Here's the problem nobody talks about. Infiniti's fate is directly tied to Nissan's survival. When the parent company is warning internally that they have 12 to 14 months left, what do you think happens to the premium division? Infiniti doesn't have its own factories, doesn't have its own engineering team. Everything flows through Nissan. If Nissan goes down, Infiniti goes down with it. The CVT transmission problems that plagued older models destroyed reliability reputation. Tens of thousands of vehicles were recalled for engine failure, power loss, and brake defects. Customer confidence evaporated along with resale values. Infiniti keeps talking about new models and a future EV lineup, but those promises mean nothing if the parent company filing for bankruptcy protection before they launch. If Nissan's collapse is going to take Infiniti with it, the next brand proves that even muscle car legends aren't safe when the parent company is bleeding billions. Dodge. Dodge has been the brand for people who don't apologize for what they drive. The Challenger, the Charger, the Hellcat, the Demon. These weren't just cars, they were statements. Middle fingers to efficiency, regulations and electric mandates, the last stand of American muscle. And now Dodge is fighting to survive under a parent company that's imploding. Stellantis dealers entered late 2024 with 131 days worth of Dodge inventory sitting on lots. For context, healthy dealerships target 60 days. That's more than double the vehicles they can reasonably sell, just sitting there depreciating. The gas-powered Charger and Challenger that built Dodge's identity were killed in 2023. The replacements were supposed to be electric. The Charger Daytona EV launched to weak demand and immediate discounting. Through Q3 2025, only 7,400 electric Chargers were sold compared to hundreds of thousands of gas versions in previous years. Customers rejected the pivot. Now Stellantis is scrambling to bring back gasoline engines with the Charger 6-pack. The Hemi Vive 8 is being resurrected after being prematurely killed, but the damage is done. Brand loyalty has been shattered. Enthusiasts who would have bought Dodges for life have moved to Mustangs and Camaros. The dealer network is described as battered. Relationships between Stellantis and its sales force have deteriorated to the point of public warfare. Dealers sent a blistering letter to corporate calling out leadership. The company responded with public statements defending themselves. That's not a partnership, that's a divorce in progress. Dodge is one of Stellantis' stronger American brands, but when the parent company loses $26 billion and is actively reviewing which brands deserve to survive, even strong brands aren't safe. And that brings us to number 1, the brand that shocked me to include on this list. The brand that still sold over 300,000 vehicles last year. The brand with one of the most loyal customer bases in automotive history, Jeep. I know what you're thinking. Jeep, the Wrangler, the brand that sells itself, the vehicle that has its own culture, its own wave, its own lifestyle, the brand where owners form clubs, plan trails, and identify each other on highways. How could Jeep possibly be on a bankruptcy watch list? Because Jeep is owned by Stellantis, and Stellantis is dying in real time. For 6 consecutive years, Jeep sales have declined in the United States, not market share. Total unit sales. 6 years of falling numbers while the SUV market around them exploded with competition. That's not a temporary setback. That's a trend that screams something's fundamentally broken. Dealers currently have 126 days of Jeep inventory sitting unsold on their lots. To put that in perspective, healthy dealerships target 60 days. That means Jeep dealers have more than double the vehicles they can reasonably sell just sitting there, depreciating every single day, costing money to insure and maintain while buyers walk past them to competitors. Here's what makes Jeep's situation uniquely dangerous. Stellantis, the parent company, just reported a net loss of $26.3 billion for 2025. That's billion with a B. The company is taking $26 billion in charges and write-offs related to failed EV investments, restructuring costs, and canceled projects. They've suspended dividends to shareholders. They've canceled EV projects that were supposed to define the future. They're laying off workers and closing facilities across the globe. And Jeep is the brand that was supposed to save them from all of this. Stellantis pushed Jeep upmarket with the Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer, betting that luxury buyers would pay $120,000 for a vehicle with a Jeep badge. Instead, those luxury models are now sitting unsold on dealer lots right alongside the regular inventory that nobody can move either. The bet failed spectacularly. The Wrangler 4xe plug-in hybrid has been discontinued for 2026. The Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe plug-in is gone too. The Chrysler Pacifica hybrid, the only plug-in minivan in America, killed. The EV strategy that was supposed to future-proof the entire company has been completely abandoned because customers rejected it, and Stellantis ran out of money to keep pushing. A new study by IC Cars found dealerships still have brand new 2024 Jeeps taking up critical space on their lots heading into 2026. The Grand Cherokee, the Wrangler 4xe, the Grand Wagoneer, the Wagoneer L. These aren't obscure specialty models. These are Jeep's core products literally rotting on dealer lots because nobody wants to buy them at current prices. The former CEO Carlos Tavares warned publicly that Stellantis brands could disappear by 2026. The current CEO, Antonio Filosa, is actively reviewing all 14 brands to determine which ones deserve continued investment. Jeep probably won't get killed outright because it's one of the few profitable brands in the portfolio. But here's what could happen instead. Massive cuts to the model lineup, factory closures that eliminate production capacity, dealer consolidation that leaves entire regions without convenient service, the complete restructuring of what Jeep even means as a brand. They've already started limiting how many dealerships can be acquired by any single buyer, which signals they're preparing for a much smaller network. And for Jeep owners, here's the real concern. Stellantis announced a reset of their entire business. They're pivoting away from EVs. They're bringing back combustion engines. They're rewriting product plans. That level of chaos at the corporate level flows directly to the ownership experience. Warranty claims get slower. Parts become harder to find. Dealers struggling to survive cut corners on service. The Jeep ownership experience degrades, while Stellantis figures out if the brand even has a future. If you're considering a Jeep right now, understand this. You're not just buying a vehicle. You're betting on whether Stellantis survives. You're betting that a company that lost $26 billion in a single year will still be around to honor your warranty in 2030. You're betting that the dealer down the street will still exist when you need service. That's a lot of betting for a vehicle purchase. Here's what connects all 8 of these brands. They all assumed the good times would last forever. They got comfortable. They stopped innovating. They raised prices instead of improving products. And when the market shifted, they were caught flat-footed. The automotive industry is experiencing a shakeout that hasn't been seen since 2008. Electric vehicle investments are being written off by the billions. Tariffs are crushing import-dependent manufacturers. Interest rates have priced average buyers out of new vehicles. And companies that spent the last decade coasting are now discovering they have months, not years, to turn things around. Some of these brands will survive. They'll find investors, cut costs, restructure operations, and emerge leaner. But others will run out of cash, file for bankruptcy protection, and leave millions of owners stranded with vehicles that nobody stands behind. The question isn't whether there will be casualties. There will be. The question is whether the car you're considering puts you on the winning side or the losing side of this shakeout. Do your research beyond the spec sheet. Check the financial statements. Look at the parent company's debt obligations. Understand what a going concern warning means, because the car you buy today might become worthless tomorrow if the company behind it disappears. And based on what we've covered today, a lot of companies are closer to disappearing than their commercials would have you believe. Choose carefully. Your wallet depends on it.